On Palm Sunday, Jesus came into Jerusalem riding on a young donkey colt, and all of the people of the town ran out and worshipped him.
They laid their coats down on the ground for the donkey to walk on, and they waved palm branches in the air and shouted, "Hosanna, Hosanna!"
Jesus was like a hero, and they were so excited to see him.
Yeah, it was like a big party with everyone so happy.
But not everyone was happy, because some people wanted to kill Jesus. They probably weren't at this party. They were probably deciding what they were going to do about Jesus somewhere else.
Yeah. And just a few days later, the night of the Passover feast, we find out what those people had decided to do about Jesus.
Jesus was sitting at the table with all his disciples, like his close friends.
And Jesus knew what was going to happen, but his disciples didn't. His disciples just thought they were celebrating the Passover, but they were really celebrating the Last Supper.
Jesus washed the feet of the disciples, which was really a gross thing to do because feet were even more dirty way back then than they are now. But Jesus did it to show his disciples that he cared about them. He wanted to serve them.
He was teaching his disciples how people should love each other.
And then Jesus went back to the table and told his disciples that he was excited to eat this meal with them before his suffering starts.
Then he broke the bread into pieces and passed it around and said that the piece of bread was like his body that was going to be broken for them.
And he passed the cup around and said that the wine was like his blood that was going to be spilled for them. And they were like, "What?"
They don't know what was going on and were totally confused.
After the meal, they went on a walk to the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus needed to pray, and he cried to God because he knew what was going to happen. But he knew he needed to do this to save all the people. He knew he had to be a sacrifice, and he had to die so others can be forgiven of their sins.
And then the guards came, and Jesus was betrayed, and Jesus was arrested.
It was crazy because the guards came with the weapons and the disciples were scared and started cutting off ears. But Jesus didn't fight because he knew it's how it had to be. Jesus knew he was going to take the punishment for others. Jesus went with the guards and his disciples scattered. Then there was a trial and the people said he did things he didn't do. And they hurt him and they wanted him to die.
The same people who had yelled, "Hosanna, Hosanna," just a few days ago were yelling, "Crucify him, crucify him."
The soldiers took Jesus away and put a crown of thorns on his head, and they spit on him, and then they nailed him to the cross so he could die.
And Jesus' mother and friends watched Jesus on the cross. They were so sad, and Jesus asked God to forgive the people who were killing him because they didn't know what they were doing.
Even as he was dying, he was still thinking how much he loved the people.
After Jesus died, they took him off the cross and placed him in a kind of cave and laid him down. They rolled a big stone in front of the entrance to the tomb so no one would take his body. They put some soldiers in front of the tomb to guard it, but Jesus didn't stay there in the grave for long.
On Sunday, there was a big earthquake, and then the guards who were in front of the tomb were shaking and very scared. The big heavy stone rolled away, and Jesus was gone.
Some of the women who followed Jesus came to visit the grave and were shocked. Jesus was not in a tomb because he had risen from the dead.
An angel spoke to the ladies and told them to not be afraid because Jesus had risen from the dead, just like he said he would. The ladies were probably yelling, "He's alive! He's alive!"
Then for the next 40 days, Jesus was walking on the earth, and he appeared to the people and gave them instructions and comforted them.
And then he ascended into heaven.
Jesus died on the cross. He rose from the dead, and he ascended into heaven.
Jesus is